Hi, hello, and welcome for another Saturday video. I have a slight change of scenery because I'm going to do something that's a little bit different today. I have been using the bullet journal to kind of track stats and things about my reading, trying to keep better sense of how I read and what I read. So since we are at the end of the first quarter of the year, I wanted to do a quarterly season review. So I'm going to look at January to March of 2021 and show you things that I have accomplished and read. There are also quite a few audiobooks that I finished as well. I just don't have physical copies of them with me present. I have never really kept stats about my reading before, and I'm finding that I'm learning a lot about myself as a reader by doing so. I'm kind of seeing how my reading fluctuates during different parts of the month, or when things are coming up, or different genres that I'm finding myself more invested in than others. It's been really helpful for me to kind of take a look at just who I am and putting words to what I think I know, but might not necessarily know. Something that I started doing is tracking the pages that I read every single day, and that looks like this. February, I lost track. Don't even look at that page, please. But for March, I did a much better job. There was only one day where I just didn't read for whatever reason. This has just been something that's super fun for me to do, and I've really enjoyed like every morning going through and counting up the pages that I read. Let's talk about some stats. So far this year, I have read 32 books. I have read 23 physical books and 9 audiobooks. I have not read any ebooks, and I just know that because it's so hard for me to get into an ebook, that I have one that I definitely need to get to. Unless I'm desperate and in the middle of waiting somewhere, I'm probably not going to pick up another ebook, but maybe. It's a huge maybe. I just can't do ebook. So far this year, with all of the books that I have read, there have been 19 new authors to me, and there have been 7 authors that I have already read. I have also done a lot of rereads in this quarter. A lot of them are already familiar to me. I've already known them. I'm able to get through them pretty quick. I'm comfortable with them. I love them, enjoy them. So there's like a healthy blend of new versus already have experienced. Looking at genres that I read the most, the top genre that I read is fantasy, and that was at 46%. Then it is pretty even compared to what else that I read. So historical and nonfiction were both at 15%. Sci-fi and romance were both at 8%. That's something that I wasn't expecting. And then mystery and memoir were both at 4%. So far this year, I have read 10,947 pages and listened to 3 days, 19 hours and 10 minutes worth of audiobooks. For ratings, a lot of them are 5 stars because they're rereads. I gave 11 5 stars, 12 4 stars, 8 3 stars, 1 2 star, and there haven't been any 1 stars yet, but there's always potential for that to happen at some point. I've also been working through the Pop Sugar Reading Challenge, and at this point I have accomplished 18 different prompts. I'm pretty psyched about that. That seems like a lot, especially when I'm going for the 50, so I feel like I'm on track to meet my goals. Plus, I'm almost done with like all of the rereads that I was planning on doing this year, so I'm almost at a good place where I can just keep busting out other books and really make some good progress on it and hopefully get it done before summer. That would be ideal, but I'm not counting on it. Okay, so here are the prompts that I have completed so far. Number 2, an Afrofuturistic book. Number 3, a book with a heart, spade, club, or diamond on the cover. Number 4, a book by an author who shares your zodiac sign. Number 11, a book about forgetting. Number 14, a book set in a restaurant. Number 15, a book with a black and white cover. Number 17, a book with a title is the same as a song title. Number 21, a genre hybrid. Number 26, an oxymoron in the title. Number 32, Q, X, or Z in the title. Number 33, 3 generations of family. Number 34, a social justice issue topic. Number 38, a book about art or an artist. Number 39, a book everyone else has read. Number 41, the book with the longest pages on your TBR. Number 44, The Book with the Ugliest Cover. Number 46, a book you meant to read last year but you didn't. And number 49, a did not finish from 2020. For my top five-star ratings, it was a little hard to choose, but I do have my top 5. And for the first, like, ultimate 5-star top 5 book that I read so far this quarter, this year, that goes to The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. I know that there are so many people who had a hard time getting into this book because of the detail in the writing. They found it very slow. I found it really well paced and exquisite. I don't know how else to explain the writing, but I really, really enjoyed all of the details. I loved the characters. I loved the openness of the story and just like the exploration that happens. The ending was incredible. I usually don't want to be left wanting so much more, but I wanted so much more, but I don't want it to go anywhere else. I want it to just kind of stay where it was. I love Henry. He is a fantastic character. Addie gets on my nerves a little bit here and there. Henry is perfection and he should be protected at all costs. For me, it is definitely a 5-star because of the writing style and the details of it. And I would highly recommend this book to anyone who wants to read it, but having been warned that it does go at a slightly slower pace because of all the detailed writing to it. My second 5-star rating goes to Gemina. This is by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. What a wild ride of a book. I really enjoyed Illuminae, but it was slow in some parts, and I think it was just me struggling to get used to the mixed media facet of it. This jumped right into it, and it never stopped. I could not stop. I have yet to read Obsidio yet. I am hoping that it also lives up to Gemina, but this book was incredible. I thoroughly enjoyed Hannah and Nick and their dialogue and their wit and their banter, and that just made the whole story, like, their relationship is fantastic. Aiden making his reappearance, bringing in Caddy and Ezra. Oh, this was suspense. Like, every page, I could not stop. And my reactions in front of students while reading this, I was constantly going, oh my gosh, I can't believe that that has happened. I really, really enjoyed this wild, wild ride. My third 5-star pick goes to Interment by Samira Ahmed. This was like just another book that there were so many things that happened that I wasn't expecting. Layla and her family are deported to a Muslim American internment camp because of the new laws of the president. They are treating Muslim Americans like they are all terrorists, and so they have to be grouped together and forced to live in an internment camp. She obviously does not care for that, and she is just very rebellious and wants to fight the system. And so she starts figuring out, like, how can she basically create a rebellion, a revolution of sorts. And the ending to this was, I knew that something was going to happen with a specific character, and I was not expecting what happened to that character to actually happen. So the ending to me was just shock and awe again. I was also disturbed while reading this of how close it paralleled American society a couple of years ago and how close we almost got to something of this sort. This is really a valuable read. I really enjoyed it and would highly recommend this one as well. For my fourth 5-star read, I've talked about this one a couple of times too, and that goes to With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. This is just another gorgeous book. Amani is just an incredible character. She is so strong. She is so resilient. Just being a mom as a freshman in high school and then managing her time and managing her abilities and having her Nana there to help and taking on a part-time job, and just, this was such an inspirational book. I really enjoyed a lot of the conversations in this book about culture and race and how people don't always recognize that you don't fit in a box and that everyone is so much more than what they look like and what they sound like on the outside. Fabulous read. Awesome parts to use during class, especially when you're talking about identity and race and culture. My final 5-star read may come as a little bit of a shock to some of you because of how much I disliked the cover. But I am going to give that award to A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. The cover is hideous, but the story was really well done. I really enjoyed 97% of the story. There were a couple of things that I was like, is this necessary? Do we need to have this in here? It doesn't really go with Nesta or Cassian's story, but that's besides the point. It's fine. I think that this was a 5-star for me because of how disappointed I was in Crescent City. It more than made up for it. I thoroughly enjoyed coming back into this world and experiencing these characters again, even though it was from a different character's perspective. It was cool to kind of see how everything revolved after the King of Hybern and how A Court of Frost and Starlight really connected it, even though it wasn't my favorite. This is wicked. It was everything adult that it was supposed to be. So despite the ugly cover, this was also a 5-star. So far in this quarter, the best book that I have read, that award goes to The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. The book that I was the most disappointed in, that goes to Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas. This was not what I was expecting. I felt like it was incredibly slow until the last 200 pages. And that was super disappointing because I'm so used to like so much more action and other things than what this really gave me. It just felt too world building. There was too much going on. There was so many different components of like bringing in different creatures and characters, and it was a lot to keep up with. I hope the second one is better. I'm like not sure if I'm looking forward to it or not. I'm sad that I was disappointed about this. The biggest surprise for me was Roman and Jewel. I usually am like not a super fan of retellings or modernizations of things. Like they're okay once in a while. Roman and Jewel blew me away. I listened to it on Libro FM and I don't know the last time I laughed so hard during an audiobook. Now, I don't know if that's because I really enjoyed the narrator who like really got into it. She was fantastic. Her name was Channy Waits. She was amazing. She was so good. She was so into the character. And I laughed and laughed and laughed. And she really brought the character's personality to life, which I thoroughly enjoy. Like if a narrator can make me feel like that into reading or listening to the book, sold. So right now I have Lauren Fortgang as my #1 narrator and Channing Waits is like #2. Those are my tops that I have ever had so far. So that was the biggest surprise for me. I really enjoyed it. It's a little cheesy here and there, but like that's to be expected, right? It's a YA romance. It was really hard for me to come up with a book because I feel like there's always so many unknowns of what I'm going to read in the next quarter. But as of right now, my most anticipated read for next quarter is Rule of Wolves by Leigh Bardugo. I just got it in the mail. I'm super excited about it. The inside of it is gorgeous and the cover is just stunning. I absolutely love it. So I am currently reading King of Scars right now so I can get myself back into the mindset for Rule of Wolves because this follows Nicola and Zoya and Nina's perspectives a little bit more. So I'm really excited about this because there's some stuff that happens to Nina in here that I can't wait to see how it works out in Rule of Wolves. That is it. That is all that I have for you with my quarterly review for this Saturday. I'm looking forward to seeing how many Pop Sugar Reading Challenge prompts that you've completed, how many books you've read, pages, work count. If there's anything else that you have also read or things that you are planning on reading that I have also read, let me know. I'm excited to hear from you and I will see you next week with a new video.